Hi, everyone, and welcome to a special edition, a IAA Mobility Munich special edition of China EVs and More with my co-host, Lei Xing. In this special edition, we'll be talking about the last couple of days we've been here in Munich. Lei will talk about his adventures, planes, trains, automobiles, and everything is here except his luggage, but he's been a trooper about it. And so this has been happening. The Germans showed up this year, 2 years ago, or they were a little bit absent, but we'll get into all of that. Lei, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, this is your co-host and special edition live from Messestadt West, which is the west entrance to the Messe München, where the IA, part of the IA mobility is being held. I'd rather not talk about my adventure. I'd rather talk about what we've seen, the sights and sounds.
Well, let's start with that.
The only thing I will talk about is I missed the first day because of my flight delay, which I think you can talk a little bit more about.
But you had a flight delay because I think there was a storm?
There's some weather issue, yeah. Tornado.
So for the purposes of our timing, I got here on Saturday morning, spent an entire morning and afternoon riding a bike around the lake that is on the Austrian-German border and was super tired. But Lei was also supposed to arrive Sunday morning, but that was the delay.
In time to catch some of the events in the early afternoon, which I ended up arriving in the early afternoon, hence missing the events.
The first event you missed was the Volkswagen Group event, which
afternoon. It used to be the Volkswagen Group night, but it was the Volkswagen Group afternoon.
And this was, what was special about this night was at the IAA. Is it normally at IAA or is it normally somewhere off-site?
Normally they would have a separate site.
Okay.
But they had it at the booth, which is the IAA Summit as part of IAA.
And I was lucky enough to attend big announcements, 4 vehicles off the MEB Plus platform that are targeted for 25,000 euros and below. Cupra, an ID Polo from Volkswagen, and Skoda Epiq. And they showed the cross concept. Finally, well, not finally, but they also showed the TT concept, the Porsche
Concept
911 Turbo, and surprisingly, Scout was here, and they showed off a Terra. So I think that was kind of a surprise to most of the European media that were attending the event.
Well, I ended up watching the replay later in the evening, and we're in Munich, the Volkswagen Group night. There wasn't a lot of China stuff in it, and all the vehicles launched were in Europe for Europe. But then I was thinking everything had to do with China because the electric urban car family, the 4 models you talked about, is in the 25,000 euro range, which is, in the coming China EVs, that's Volkswagen's answer, basically, right? So it has everything to do with China. And Oliver Bloom, he did mention the Chinese market. One is the price war. The other is the speed of innovation. And then he did mention about China going into delivery mode, which I think next year for Volkswagen, everywhere in the world, especially in Europe, with those 4 vehicles, they're entering delivery mode. The true delivery mode, the true test of this latest round of updated, smartified electric vehicles. Can they challenge the Chinese? Question mark.
Let's blow this out to the 100,000 foot level. Now we're looking at Ford, GM also launching affordable electric vehicles in the next 12, 18 months. And we have Rivian, we have Lucid also looking at $40,000 vehicles. So it seems like within the next 24 months, we're going to have a gaggle of affordable vehicles if the legacies can execute on their announcements. And I'm going to point back to GM and Ford talking about selling 1 million units of EVs by 2030. We know that didn't happen. And so, or we know that's not happening. And so I think most people are in a see it to believe it mode. But what do you think?
And the other caveat is it's starting price at 25,000 euros.
Yeah.
So there's, think about once they actually launch, they still compete at that kind of price. We don't know, but at least, one number I did remember is there's 4 electric urban car families they're going to be saving about 600 million euros in a life cycle because all four will be produced in Spain. Cupra is actually leading the development, which was interesting, but I think it is trying to show
huge coup for the country, for Spain.
I think trying to show the efficiency may be part of it what they're launching.
Well, it's definitely going to help them try to get to that target 25,000 euro with the labor rates being cheaper in Spain than in Germany. Now, as I was sitting with a few of the other journalists that we know, I couldn't help but think, as these cars are each rolling separately onto the stage, and, you know, the media really, I think, soaking it all in, was the fact that these cars are already here. They're just not badged with Volkswagen Group logos, and they're sold in China. And I'll have to take a look at the feature by feature, and we'll take a look at that to see the features that they anticipate to have, the range that they anticipate to have, the speed of charging that they anticipate to have, to see if that's already available in China. And my guess is that it is, and it's going to be a little bit cheaper in China than it is in Europe. Well, look, hold on a sec. Some
VIPs.
Some
maybe,
VIPs.
Be a CEO of BMW or something. I don't know. But the other thing about Volkswagen is the renaming of the ID convention, whereas the numbers are now going to ID Polo, ID Cross, which is the electric version of their popular nameplates. That's the other direction that they're kind of going.
And we should mention, because I got here Saturday morning, as I said, and then you got here on Sunday. BMW had their evening on Friday night, so we both missed that event.
On the 5th.
And they launched their latest iX3 with the brand language Neue Klasse. And Mercedes on Sunday night had a big event to launch a GLC. So right now there's a competition between the iX3 and the GLC. And, you know, I'm still letting it marinate, but maybe you can talk a little bit about what's special about the iX3 and the GLC.
Well, first of all, they're the same segment. They're one of the, probably, I know the GLC is the top selling Mercedes in all of their lineup. I'm not sure about the iX3. It could be the 3 Series, probably top selling, but they're competing directly. They're going into their next generation electric platforms.
It's the same segment, but going at it completely differently.
Neue Klasse is not one model. It's their next generation of vehicles.
It's a language maybe?
With their all new cockpit style, the iDrive panoramic.
So it's a hardware and software.
Panoramic iDrive, operating X, the way how the driver interacts with the center console, it's totally different. And then the Mercedes obviously had that big screen still. I think it's still in the past, because I do not think huge coast-to-coast screen is where the industry is going in the future.
And it just seems overly complicated from a technical standpoint.
But I have not had a chance to try out the Mercedes. I did have the chance to try out the panoramic iDrive in CES in Shanghai, and I liked it based on kind of the human-machine interaction.
And we should compare and contrast, because BMW has a traditional center console that's shaped like a weird-shaped iPad. So and the iX3 is much more angular than the Mercedes. The Mercedes is much more curvy, smooth lines, and so definitely different approaches to the same segment.
I think the controversial things, one is the cockpit, second is the grille, the front facial fascia design, the kind of the exterior styling. I think both BMW and Mercedes are going into very controversial directions that are going to have a lot of debate.
I'm there for it, because that's the only thing that's going to help them in the China market.
But I actually saw the iX3 in the flesh and the Mercedes GLC in the flesh that they're here exhibiting. Actually, in the flesh, it's not so bad if you look at the picture, but maybe you grow on it, but it's still controversial.
For me, it's not about clean energy vehicles for BMW. The design of BMWs has been a little bit controversial for several years now, because the kidney grills have gotten bigger and bigger, and that's ICE as well. So, will it grow on me? I don't know. We'll see. But
because if you look at the Chinese EVs, their homogeneity is this wraparound lighting.
Yes.
That's coming on whereas the Germans, the kidney grill, it's got the illuminated kidney grill. The Mercedes got the LED 942 squares of LED with the big illuminated logo.
And that's going to be on every grill in Mercedes now. So that's the future
upcoming
grill.
and then the China factor will be, both of these will be starting local production next year in China with the Chinese tech inside. BMW's got both BMW and Mercedes got the Momenta
Right.
for ADAS. BMW is working with Huawei. BMW is working with Alibaba, I think. Mercedes, obviously, the local operating system, I think like 60, 70% local software development. All right, these are the.
So as the Europeans during Shanghai Auto Show all effectively said, in China for China. Well,
Here it's in Europe for Europe.
yes.
So.
Almost every press conference that we've been to is that Chinese OEMs are in Europe for Europe. Changan said it. Who else said it? I think XPeng said
Everybody
it.
said it.
You know, the one thing that we should also mention was last night. I didn't go, but there was the Polestar event.
The Polestar
for
5.
the Polestar 5,
Right.
which is a Model S size sedan.
Here's Dr. Heisman, Volkswagen Group China chairman.
Oh yeah.
Just walking,
And so Simon Wright from The Economist, Ed Kim from Auto Pacific, they did go, and I spoke to them yesterday, and Ed really liked it.
It's based on the precept, I think.
Yes.
That was like launched like in 2020 or 2021, I think. Yeah.
But again, it's a sedan. Polestar is like almost on its last breath. Lastly, it starts at 142,000 euro.
Okay.
And it's built in China.
Okay. All right.
So currently it's not meant for the US market, and that's probably because of the tariff. I don't know, at $142,000, who's going to buy that thing? And it only has 51 miles of range, estimated range. We should mention that, but let's move to reflections of day one. You know, you and I went to the XPeng, you and I went to BYD, and then in between we kind of did our own thing. But XPeng event, what do you think? So first of all, let me say this, because VDA, which is the organization that puts this IAA together, they said that participation from Chinese suppliers and OEMs increased by 40%.
It's way up. We were here in 2023, so we can check for that.
So the next thing is that there's the second wave of OEMs, Chinese OEMs, the Changans, the
Itos, the 212s.
Yes, the 212.
Who the heck is 212? We'll talk about it. But the Changan DePaul. You know, speaking of, I think one of the memorable slides that was shown at the launch was a slide with Chongqing, China.
Yeah,
I posted on X about a
Munich.
picture is worth 1,000 words. With next to is Munich, Germany. I mean, that's the perfect collision of China East versus the West, right?
So let's remind folks, because Changan is the manufacturer of DePaul or Shenlan, and also and Avatar. Changan is launching the
DePaul S. Sorry, you still remember?
The German police are so kind, so nice. A quick refresher for everyone: Changan is the manufacturer for DePaul, which is Shenlan, Avatar, and and they're also the joint venture partner for Ford, famously, or infamously, depending on who you talk to. Remind us what they all announced at the Changan presser.
Changan basically, well, the other jarring thing was the guy who announced the pricing, Klaus Zera, was the former head of design at Volkswagen Group. Now he's the head of design for the Changan Group. And he announced the pricing of 3 trims of the DePaul S05. And when the prices came out, I was watching, I was like, isn't this what's happening every day in Chinese market? You know, when you watch the live stream, the launches, you know, the price of this trim is how much? And then boom, the price come out. Like it's from 38,000 to like 42, 43,000 for like a, SUV. So I think the one of the central theme is they're coming, they're using this platform to announce these launches, but also platform to announce further progress in their European entry.
And they also, most of them also emphasize that they're opening offices, hiring local talent.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all part of the in Europe for Europe. And it's trying to give reassurances to the folks here in Europe, the media and the attendees, that, hey, we're partners in this, right? Especially when XPeng and He Xiaopeng, he said, you know what, Volkswagen Group and XPeng are partners, you know? So
Well, going back to XPeng, you asked about what happened to XPeng. Well, I mean, the new cars, I've seen the P7, but 2026 is shaping up to be a huge year for XPeng because what was announced? They're going to try to start mass production of their L4 vehicle. They're going to start the human robot. They had the eVTOL, the Aero HT division. They're going to try to start production of that. A lot of big plans dropping.
And just so everyone has a better understanding, the Changan, the BYD, the XPeng, we're still talking 10, 12 people deep. Hard to find a seat. We were early. Alfonso was there. Alejandro was there. Steve Levine was there.
Jerry,
Jerry was there from Car News China. So a lot of our friends here are covering it. So if you're in Spain or, you know, check out Car News China because Jerry and Alfonso were updating in real time effectively.
We can't do that.
Oh my God. I don't know how they do it. And then if you're wondering if that 40% seems real, let's just say 2 years ago when we were here, it was like Chinese people doing the pressers, but it was like local Europeans or cameramen. But now even the cameramen are Chinese.
Well, here's the perspective. In 2023, Munich was a few months after that initial shock in Shanghai. And then that shock came over here. But these past 2 years, I think that the legacies, they've been responding to that shock. And right, we talked about Mercedes, we talked about Volkswagen. They've launching, you know, what they think will be the products that will take them, you know, at least back to some of their mojo. And the Chinese, I think we can summarize, we talk about Chinese coming, they're coming.
Oh, they're here.
They're here, they're coming more. And one thing up until now, at this point, I have not heard a single word about tariffs. I mean, even though it is in place.
We're in Germany, and the German OEMs want to at least have the veneer of being a welcoming sector. Right now, there has to be unease behind closed doors, and I think this is where a Stellantis and a Volkswagen Group might have a little bit more of an advantage, just because they've already partnered with Chinese companies.
Right.
So if we think about it, if we're talking about show me, don't tell me, this is also going to be 2026 is also going to be a huge year for all the foreign OEMs, specifically the Mercedes and the BMWs, because they are linchpin on the GLC and the iX3.
You know, the 8,000-pound gorilla BYD. One of the numbers they showed, they're in 32 countries. In Europe. 32 countries in Europe, not the world. Okay?
Who was it? I was sitting next to somebody and goes, there's 32 countries in Europe?
And then Stella, you know, she announced they're going to introduce the flash charging. Just you can get...
Which is not mega charging. Which is
slower, but you can get 400 kilometers in like 10 minutes and then 580 kilowatt speed. She announced certified pre-owned. Whenever you do that, that means you've been established.
So one of the big screw ups initially from the Chinese when they entered originally 3, 4, 5 years ago was their lack of a plan for after sales service. So almost every presentation that we sat in, there was details, there's slides about after sales service. So
yeah, and then I have to check the slide because the other slide that Stella showed was...
Oh, I took a bunch of pictures.
Yeah.
And we should note that not only did they have a press event at IAA during the day, they had a brand night in the evening across the street. So that I attended. One
of the slides that she showed was European product portfolio in 2025, and it must have been a dozen models splashed across the screen.
Well, she did say they are in 90% of the segments. And
then they launched the CO6 DMI Touring with the 1,350 kilometer range plug-in at just under 40,000, I think.
Yeah.
Euros.
6,000, I want to say. She also
90.
Okay, 2,000. But she also announced that all Denzas will have the flash charging as standard. So
And then the Dolphin Surf, which is what's the Chinese, Seagull, got the Euro NCAP 5-star. So that's incredible for a small car.
So that
Okay.
seal, the DMI seal that you're talking about that they launched, is an estate. So it's a station wagon,
Yeah. And then
which is pretty big in Europe.
it's going to be a popular vehicle to have.
Across the street at the event last night, they had about 6 of them parked right in front.
And then the other slide that she showed was a ranking of BYD among global brand sales. And the other brands, she left out the entire word. She only had the first letter. It was like, okay, T means Toyota, right? And then F means Ford, H means Hyundai, and then it's BYD at number 6. So we can kind of guess who the brands were, but...
So... In the day and a half that we've kind of been here, this will actually be the second day officially of the event because the other events were off.
Industry day.
So yesterday wasn't as crowded. It's already seems twice as crowded as it was, and we're at 9 o'clock in the morning. But my initial takeaways from yesterday walking around is that the second wave of OEMs is here. So I think we're starting to get pretty crowded in Europe. And then number 2, the tier 1s, the traditional tier 1s in Europe, the Forvias and things like that, Borg Warners, they better watch it because...
Well, I have a response to that because I did attend some of the, I went to Valeo. They announced the deal with Momenta a few days before the show started. And I think for these type of suppliers, Valeo, believe it or not, they're supplying one of the aqua blade wipers for the Li Auto i8. And Valeo in the Chinese market, their first joint venture was in 1994 that started production of wiper blades. They're still supplying in the Chinese market to a company like Li Auto, and they're now embracing the Chinese tech companies because they cannot survive and grow on their own, just like Momenta cannot grow on their own.
But that's the whole point, Lei. Like,
right?
if you're going to sell wiper blades, we see Horizon here. We see, Black Sesame here. We see QCraft here. We see Deep Rod here, so, I mean, all the Chinese suppliers, because here's the thing, and you help me here. Who are the European counterparts to the Horizons, the Black Sesames? There isn't one. And we're talking silicon design companies, okay? So they're quickly going to fill that void, okay? And we also saw that Qualcomm announced a partnership with QCraft.
Correct, yep.
So there are dance partners all over the place, and we're seeing the legacy automakers here much more open to partnerships with Chinese companies. And we're also seeing tier 1s because most of these tier 1s can't win if they go it alone because they don't have silicon design in their DNA, in their technical expertise.
That's kind of what I was alluding.
And so the reason I said they better watch it is because they're going to be stuck selling wiper blades to the OEMs here in Europe, whether you're Chinese or European.
Right. And the other thing is I still have a couple more days to go. And on the agenda are including some test rides of these local solutions. For example, Bosch and WeRide are introducing end-to-end ADAS in the Chinese market. So that's Momenta, all right? They're launching the Uber Robotaxi next year.
Yes.
That was announced yesterday. Neue HCT, which is the new company started by Aumovio, the spinoff from Conti, working with Horizon Robotics, they're showing a demo.
Quick reminder, Conti's not...
That's correct. That's epitome of how the industry has changed, right? Aumovio is a company that doesn't have any debt. So which is good, right? And then, the LiDARs, all 3 Chinese LiDAR companies are here. Hesai launched the 800 line LiDAR with the 400-meter detection range. Their top-of-the-line LiDAR, which they say will be the model that get over the hump for level 3, level 4. So
I'm going to remind you of something. Remember the Neo Mobileye 6th partnership that was announced probably 4 years ago? I don't see it in Munich. So again, see it to believe it. Well, but we do see cars with LiDAR on them.
I saw Omoda. Omoda is the Chinese brand, Cherry, a global brand that's launching. They actually have an event today with the LiDARs on top.
I saw Omoda.
Then there's some IM vehicles, which is using Momenta. They're running around doing demos.
I'm really, maybe not surprised, but Momenta has really, really come from behind. to
their
become a
press
player.
conference, which we were both at, they only had their European head speaking.
It was
That's
a
it,
small
right?
conference. I think the Europeans are still not that familiar with Momenta yet.
I think it's going to be the localization of talent, localization of production, localization of R&D, same as what the foreign automakers in China.
But I think what's most important is them hiring government affairs, trying to push through regulations and policy. Because, you know, you can have one or two vehicles on the road as like a pilot or kind of a proof of concept. But again, if you want to compete with a Waymo, if you want to compete with a Baidu, you got to have a lot of capital, number one, and you got to have a lot of vehicles. And people need to probably start paying for rides, you know, in the next 18 months. Does that happen? That needs to be through regulation and through policy change.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think the other thing for both of us is just reconnecting with the past context.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is the one of, I wouldn't say only, but maybe an important venue where it's the only time we get to meet some of the contacts every year, right?
Daniel.
Right, I mean, we're going to be going to the Flint.
So for those that are wondering, Daniel Kircher, co-founder of Byton, the old Chinese EV company that blew up, he's pivoted and is now looking at commercial vehicles with the help of GAC. And he's
a company called Morocco Motor, which is kind of a unit under GAC Group for electric LCVs.
To your point, first of all, there's a ton of people, journalists, non-journalists that are here. Always fun to see them. And the last couple of nights, because before we came on camera, Lei was like, "Are you sick? Because your voice sounds different." It's because I haven't. First of all, I drank a little alcohol on last couple of nights, but also didn't drink enough water.
And then the other thing I'll attend tomorrow is the WNEVC, which I missed last time, which you attended last time, which I think is an important venue where these CEOs will speak and kind of maybe talk a little bit more about the geopolitical stuff. You know.
So one of the things that might not surprise you is the VDA hired one of the German Chinese entities to help them with like Weibo social and stuff. So there were some Chinese KOLs, quite a few Chinese KOLs that were interviewing executives of organizations, right?
We have to mention Ryan Chen, the Chongqing Trump. I think he was invited by Changan because I met him. In the he does impersonations of Trump, right? But these KOLs, the Chinese automakers, they're bringing them over here. Once the press conference ended at the Leapmotor press conference, there was these ladies going up with these what do you call them? The head, like you know, starting to interview Zhu Jiangming, the chairman of Leapmotor.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll hit here. Maybe it gets a lot of views in China, but you're starting to see a lot of that as well, because with the help of some of the German entities with experience or operations in China, because I think they feel that helps bridge some gap. And look, looks like some security up top. There must be an important person coming.
Yeah. Well, today is the opening day.
Yes.
So maybe there's some government.
Maybe the prime minister. Anyway. But dude, that's all I really have.
That's.
I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning. I'm speaking at the Automotive News Congress
you have a great perspective on what's right.
Yeah. So I was in China in April for the show. I was in China, a month ago or 3 weeks ago. And now I'm in Munich. So we only get like 30 minutes on stage. It's like really weird.
Yeah. I mean,
there's like four people.
There's not that much you can talk about. You probably only get like a few minutes.
So anyways, hey, everyone, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed this special edition. Add any comments or questions you have. We want to make this more interactive. We're still digesting a lot of this stuff, to be honest.
Still a lot of events to go to.
Yeah, tonight is going to be a busy night. So we'll catch you all next week, hopefully for the live show.
All right, bye-bye.